A UFO turned a Soviet man's friend to stone, and both the KGB and CIA may be hiding the truth, but luckily the man is speaking up.
They're like people like ours, yeah. They have the same mind, the same vision and so on, and I talked with them.
From mysterious UFOs to the truth behind the alien Soviet encounters and the secrets of Area 51, I will be exposing it all in this video. The incredible claim. So here's the story that's been making waves across social media lately. According to a declassified CIA document that went viral in April 2025, something truly extraordinary supposedly happened near the Ukraine border during the final years of the Soviet Union. The document claims that during a military training exercise in either Siberia or Ukraine around 1989-1990, Soviet soldiers spotted a low-flying spacecraft shaped like a saucer hovering above them. What happened next would be straight out of a sci-fi horror film if it actually occurred. One of the Soviet soldiers reportedly fired a surface-to-air missile at the mysterious craft, successfully hitting it and causing it to crash not far from their position. Naturally, the soldiers approached the downed UFO to investigate. According to the narrative that's gone viral, 5 short humanoids with large heads and black eyes emerged from the wreckage of their ruined ship. What happens next is where the story becomes truly extraordinary, and for many skeptics, where it crosses firmly into the territory of science fiction. The beings allegedly didn't take kindly to having their spacecraft shot down. The report claims that after escaping from the debris, the 5 entities huddled together and merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. This sphere supposedly began to grow larger and then suddenly exploded with an intense, blinding light. The aftermath was supposedly catastrophic for the soldiers. According to the document, at the moment the sphere exploded with bright light, 23 of the 25 soldiers who had witnessed the phenomenon were instantly turned to stone. Only 2 soldiers reportedly survived, those who had been standing in the shade and were therefore less exposed to the luminous explosion. If this sounds like something from War of the Worlds or The Day the Earth Stood Still, you're not alone in that assessment. But this isn't merely an urban legend being passed around in UFO enthusiast circles. What makes this story particularly interesting is that it appears in what seems to be an official document from a respected intelligence agency. The document supposedly contains a summary of a 250-page KGB report that the CIA acquired following the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. This KGB report allegedly included not just detailed accounts of the incident, but also eyewitness testimonies and even photographs of the aftermath. One American agent who allegedly viewed these materials described them as showing a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. According to the narrative, the KGB took possession of both the petrified soldiers and the wreckage of the spaceship, transporting them to a secret military installation near Moscow for further study. Soviet scientists supposedly determined that whatever the mysterious light was, it had somehow transformed the soldiers' living cells into a substance identical to limestone. If true, this would be one of the most significant encounters between humans and extraterrestrials ever documented. It would provide evidence not only of advanced alien life, but also of their technological capabilities far beyond our understanding. The CIA document reportedly concluded that if the account were accurate, it would present an extremely menacing prospect for humanity, as the aliens possessed weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions and could stand up for themselves if attacked. The story certainly has all the elements of a blockbuster sci-fi thriller: military confrontation, alien retaliation, mysterious transformation, government secrecy, and potentially world-changing implications. No wonder it captured public imagination and went viral, with discussions erupting across Reddit and other social media platforms. But here's the crucial question we need to ask: is any of this actually true? Did Soviet soldiers really encounter aliens, and were they really turned to stone after shooting down a UFO? Or is this simply an elaborate piece of Cold War folklore that somehow made its way into declassified documents? To answer these questions, we need to dig deeper into the origins of this story, examine the nature of the CIA document itself, and consider alternative explanations for what might really have happened, if anything happened at all. That's exactly what we'll do in the next segment of our exploration. Before we continue, though, it's worth noting that stories of UFO encounters from the former Soviet Union aren't entirely uncommon. The vast territory of Russia has a rich history of reported UFO sightings and extraterrestrial encounters, often intertwined with Cold War secrecy and restricted information flow. The combination of military activity, remote landscapes, and limited public information created fertile ground for mysterious incidents to take on a life of their own. One such famous case is the Voronezh incident from 1989, when multiple witnesses, including children, reported seeing a glowing object object land in a park and tall, three-eyed humanoids emerge. What made this case unusual was that it received coverage in Soviet media, including the official news agency TASS, something that would have been unthinkable in earlier decades. In fact, Russia continues to be associated with UFO reports even in recent years. In January 2023, Russian air defenses claimed to have shot down a UFO in the Rostov area, near the Ukraine border. The governor of the region stated that they had detected a small-sized object in the shape of a ball, flying about 1.5 miles high in the sky, and the decision was made to shoot it down. However, this modern incident has a much more mundane explanation. It was likely a Ukrainian or Russian drone related to the ongoing conflict in the region, but it does illustrate how military encounters with unidentified objects continue to capture public attention and spark UFO speculation. Even high-ranking Russian officials have claimed extraterrestrial encounters. Perhaps the most notable is Kirsan Ilyumzhinov, the former president of the Republic of Kalmykia and head of the World Chess Federation, FIDE, who publicly claimed he was abducted by aliens from his Moscow apartment in 1997.
I remember in Moscow, it was happened in my apartment.
According to Ilyumzhinov, he was taken aboard a spaceship where he communicated with humanoid beings and visited a distant star before being returned safely so he could attend scheduled meetings. His claim was unusual, not just for its content, but because it came from a high-ranking political figure who seemed unafraid of the potential ridicule such a story might attract.
I was taken by my apartment in Moscow to this spaceship, and we went to some star, and after that I asked them, please bring me back, because next day I should come to Kalmykia, to Elista, and go to Ukraine. Yeah, and no problem, Kirsan, you have time.
He further described the entities he encountered.
They are like people like ours, yeah. They have the same mind, the same vision, and so on, and I talked with them.
What's particularly interesting is how Ilyumzhinov connected his alien encounter to the game of chess. He suggested,
my theory, chess comes from the space. Why? Because the same rules, 64, this is 64 squares, black and white, and the same rules in Japan, in China, in Qatar, in Mongolia, in Africa, but the rules are the same. Why? I think it seems maybe from the space.
While many dismissed Ilyumzhinov's claims as fantasy or publicity-seeking, his high-profile position made the story difficult to ignore completely. It's one thing when an ordinary citizen claims alien abduction, but quite another when it comes from someone who had access to nuclear weapons as the leader of a Russian republic. So the former Soviet region certainly has its share of UFO lore, but so do other parts of the world. To understand how deep the conspiracy of aliens goes, we have to talk about Area 51. Aliens, UFO, Area 51, and the truth. Let's start with Area 51, a name that instantly evokes images of alien spacecraft, government conspiracies, and top-secret experiments. But what exactly is Area 51? Well, it's not just a figment of Hollywood's imagination. Area 51 is a highly classified United States Air Force facility located at Groom Lake in Nevada, about 83 miles north-northwest of Las Vegas. The facility was established in 1955, primarily to support the development of the legendary U-2 spy plane, a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft designed to monitor Soviet activities during the height of the Cold War. What makes Area 51 so perfect for classified operations? Its remote desert setting and vast restricted airspace create an ideal environment for testing experimental aircraft away from prying eyes. The base was initially a 6 by 10 mile rectangular area, but has since expanded to be part of a larger 23 by 25 mile Groom box of restricted airspace. This isolation has allowed the military to conduct its most sensitive projects with minimal risk of observation from the public or foreign intelligence. Throughout its history, Area 51 has been the birthplace of numerous advanced aircraft that pushed the boundaries of aviation technology. Some of the most notable include the A-12 Oxcart, a supersonic reconnaissance plane, the F-117 Nighthawk, the first operational stealth fighter, and the SR-71 Blackbird, a high-speed reconnaissance aircraft. These extraordinary machines, with their unprecedented capabilities and unusual appearances, often contributed to UFO sightings reported by civilians who glimpsed them during test flights flights. In fact, the CIA has confirmed that more than half of all UFO sightings reported in the 1950s and 1960s were actually U-2 spy planes being tested at Area 51. These aircraft flew at altitudes much higher than was thought possible for conventional planes at the time, appearing as mysterious lights in the sky to confused observers below. It's a fascinating example of how advanced military technology can sometimes be mistaken for something extraterrestrial. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Area 51 is that for decades, the US government refused to even acknowledge its existence. All activities at the base were classified as Top Secret Sensitive Compartmented Information, TSSCI, and it wasn't until June 25, 2013, that the CIA publicly acknowledged Area 51 following a Freedom of Information Act request filed in 2005. This long-standing denial only fueled speculation about what might be happening behind those heavily guarded gates. Today, approximately 1,500 personnel reportedly work at Area 51, many commuting via charter flights from Las Vegas to the base's private airport. While historical records have confirmed the facility's role in aircraft testing, its current operations remain highly classified. Some experts, like author Annie Jacobson, suggest it continues to develop advanced espionage technologies, possibly including sophisticated drone systems. The veil of secrecy ensures Area 51 remains a hub for cutting-edge military projects, though the specific nature of these projects is known only to those with appropriate clearance. But Area 51 isn't the only secretive military installation dedicated to advanced technology testing. On the other side of the world, Russia has its own equivalent, Kapustin Yar. Kapustin Yar, located in Astrakhan Oblast, Russia, about 100 kilometers east of Volgograd, was established by the Soviet Union on May 13, 1946, as a military training area and rocket launch complex. It predates Area 51 by nearly a decade and has a similarly mysterious reputation in UFO lore. The site's history begins immediately after World War II, when the Soviet Union utilized technology and materials captured from Germany to establish its missile program. The first rocket launched from Kapustin Yar was actually a German A4 V2 on October 18, 1947. From 1947 to 1957, it served as the Soviet Union's primary site for testing ballistic missiles, including the R-1, R-2, R-5 Pobeda, R-12 Dvina, and R-14 Chusovaya, all crucial developments in the Cold War arms race. In 1966, Kapustin Yar evolved to become a cosmodrome, launching small research satellites like those in the Cosmos series, though at a relatively low rate of only 1 to 2 launches per year. The facility also has a darker history, having hosted nuclear tests. At least 11 explosions have been conducted at the site since the 1950s, with a combined capacity equivalent to 65 Hiroshima bombs. Today, Kapustin Yar continues to serve multiple military functions. These include testing ballistic missiles, air defense systems, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, serving as a launch site for satellites and sounding rockets, hosting the training center of the Rocket Forces for missile troop training, playing a role in arms control by destroying decommissioned missiles. The site remains active even today, as evidenced by a reported Ukrainian drone strike on July 9, 2024, which allegedly damaged a building, though Russian sources claimed all drones were neutralized. Just like Area 51, Kapustin Yar has earned its own UFO-related nickname, the Russian Roswell. This stems from numerous UFO sightings reported during the Soviet era, likely caused by missile and rocket tests being mistaken for extraterrestrial craft. The secrecy surrounding the facility and the advanced technologies tested there contributed to speculation about alien encounters, leading to various conspiracy theories and even inspiring a 2005 History Channel documentary titled Russian Roswell. When we compare Area 51 and Kapustin Yar, some fascinating parallels emerge. Both facilities were established during the Cold War to advance military technology and secrecy, are located in remote regions with restricted access, generated UFO sightings due to testing experimental technologies, became focal points for extraterrestrial speculation and conspiracy theories, continue to operate with significant levels of classification today. However, there are notable differences as well. Area 51 focused primarily on aircraft development, while Kapustin Yar emphasized missiles and space technology. Area 51's existence remained officially denied until 2013, whereas Kapustin Yar's role as a testing site was acknowledged earlier, though specific activities remained classified. And while Area 51 has become a global cultural icon, Kapustin Yar remains relatively obscure outside Russia and UFO research circles. The existence of these secret facilities has contributed significantly to theories about government knowledge of extraterrestrial life. After all, if governments are willing to deny the existence of actual military bases for decades, what else might they be concealing from the public? public. This brings us to some of the most compelling UFO incidents reported in Russia over the years. One of the most famous is the Voronezh incident of 1989, when multiple witnesses, including children, reported seeing a glowing object land in a park in Voronezh, a city 500 kilometers southeast of Moscow. According to the witnesses, a 9-foot-tall humanoid with 3 eyes emerged from the craft, accompanied by a smaller robot-like figure. The entity reportedly pointed a device at a teenager, causing them to temporarily vanish. What made this case particularly remarkable was that Soviet media, including the official news agency TASS, covered the story, something highly unusual given state censorship. This occurred during the period of Glasnost, when the USSR was becoming more open to discussing previously taboo subjects. Investigators from the Soviet Academy of Sciences examined the site, but found no conclusive evidence beyond trace radiation and soil anomalies. Another significant incident is the Petrozavodsk phenomenon of 1977, when residents of Petrozavodsk and parts of Finland reported a glowing object in the sky emitting beams of light. The event, dubbed the Jellyfish UFO, lasted several minutes and was witnessed by hundreds. Soviet authorities attributed it to a satellite launch from the nearby Plesetsk Cosmodrome, but witnesses claimed the object moved with intelligence that couldn't be explained by conventional technology. As we can see, Russia has a rich history of UFO sightings and claims of alien encounters, many intertwined with military activities and the vast, often isolated geography of the region. The country's history of secrecy during the Soviet era, followed by periods of greater openness, created fertile ground for UFO legends to flourish. Now let's examine what government officials have said on the record about unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs, and the growing call for transparency about what our governments might know about potential extraterrestrial visitors, whistleblowers, and congressional hearings. In recent years, we've witnessed an unprecedented shift in how the United States government approaches the topic of UFOs. What was once relegated to the fringes of conspiracy theory has gradually moved into legitimate government inquiry, culminating in a series of congressional hearings that have captured public attention and raised profound questions about what might be in our skies. The modern era of government UFO investigation began in earnest with the establishment of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, UAPTF, by the US Department of Defense in 2020. This marked an official acknowledgement that unexplained aerial encounters deserved serious scientific and military investigation, particularly given their potential implications for national security. This new approach culminated in the first public congressional hearing on UFOs in over 50 years, held on May 17, 2022, by the House Intelligence Subcommittee on Counterterrorism, Counterintelligence, and Counterproliferation. The hearing was prompted by increased UAP sightings and a 2021 Pentagon UAP Task Force report that documented 144 unexplained cases. During this groundbreaking session, military officials testified that while most UAP sightings could likely be attributed to conventional objects like drones or balloons, a small percentage remained truly unexplained. The Department of Defense emphasized the need for better data collection and analysis to determine whether these phenomena represented foreign technology, natural phenomena, sensor errors, or something else entirely. The hearing marked a turning point, signaling that the government was finally taking UAPs seriously as a potential national security concern rather than dismissing them outright. It set the stage for further investigation and reignited public interest in the possibility that we might not be alone in the universe. But it was the second major hearing, held on July 26, 2023, by the House Oversight Subcommittee on National Security, the Border, and Foreign Affairs, that truly captured worldwide attention and generated headlines that seemed straight out of science fiction. This hearing featured testimony from 3 key witnesses. 1. David Grush, a former Air Force intelligence officer. 2. Ryan Graves, a former Navy pilot. 3. David Fravor, a retired Navy commander. Of these, it was Grush's testimony that proved most explosive. He claimed to have been informed of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program during his work on Pentagon task forces. When directly questioned about whether the government had recovered crashed craft with deceased pilots, Grush provided a response that sent shockwaves through the media landscape. When pressed further about whether these biologics were human or non-human, Grush was unequivocal. This remarkable claim that the US government had recovered non-human biological entities from crashed spacecraft represented an unprecedented moment in the history of government UFO hearings. Never before had a credentialed intelligence official made such explicit claims under oath before Congress. However, it's important to note that Grush provided no direct evidence for these assertions, and the Pentagon promptly denied them, stating that no evidence had been found to substantiate claims of any programs regarding the possession or reverse engineering of extraterrestrial materials. The other witnesses at the hearing provided compelling accounts of UAP encounters from their perspective as military aviators. Ryan Graves described objects that demonstrated flight characteristics beyond known technology and posed genuine safety risks to pilots. David Fravor recounted his now famous 2004 encounter with a tic-tac-shaped object off the coast of San Diego, which exhibited extraordinary maneuverability and speed. The hearing generated immense public interest and led to legislative proposals for creating civilian UAP reporting mechanisms and greater transparency from defense agencies. It also highlighted the bipartisan nature of interest in UAPs, with representatives from both parties expressing frustration at the perceived lack of government transparency on the issue. Building on this momentum, a third significant hearing was held on November 13, 2024, titled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Exposing the Truth. This joint hearing by House Oversight Subcommittees focused on the Department of Defense's lack of transparency regarding UAP programs, undisclosed spending, and the national security implications of UAP encounters at military installations. Key witnesses included Dr. Tim Gallaudet, a retired Rear Admiral, Luis Elizondo, a former DoD official, Michael Gold, a former NASA associate, Michael Schellenberger, a journalist. Elizondo, who previously led the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, claimed that he and others were targeted by the Pentagon for their UAP investigations. Schellenberger displayed redacted reports to highlight the need for declassification, while Gold advocated for scientific study of UAPs to better understand their nature. The hearing emphasized the need for transparency, with Dr. Gallaudet suggesting more action might be needed in 2025, stating there is a national security need for more UAP transparency as well. In 2025, the US, though the full context of this statement wasn't provided in the transcripts. As of April 17, 2025, no new UAP hearings have been reported or scheduled in the US Congress, but the momentum for greater transparency continues. These congressional hearings have sparked intense debates about the nature of UAPs and the extent of government knowledge. On one side are witnesses like Grush, who make extraordinary claims about non-human technology and biological entities. On the other side are government agencies like the Department of Defense and the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, which maintain that no evidence supports claims of extraterrestrial activity, attributing most UAPs to drones, balloons, or natural phenomena. The hearings have also amplified allegations of government secrecy and cover-ups, with multiple witnesses claiming the Department of Defense withholds information from Congress and the public. Critics argue this secrecy undermines trust in government institutions and prevents proper oversight of potentially groundbreaking discoveries. A core debate centers on whether UAPs represent foreign surveillance threats, such as advanced Chinese or Russian drones, or genuine scientific mysteries potentially indicating non-human intelligence. This framing reflects the tension between national security concerns and scientific curiosity that has characterized government approaches to the phenomenon. One expert summed up this new approach to UFOs during a 2023 hearing. The witness went further, suggesting deeper implications. While no definitive conclusions about the nature of UAPs have emerged from these hearings, they've succeeded in elevating the conversation from fringe conspiracy theories to legitimate policy discussions. They've also highlighted the need for a balanced approach that addresses both security concerns and public curiosity about unexplained phenomena. The impact of these hearings extends far beyond policy circles. They've captured public imagination, reinvigorating interest in UFOs and generating media coverage that blends skepticism with genuine curiosity. They've also inspired legislative efforts to ensure greater transparency, though progress has been slow due to resistance from various defense agencies. It's worth noting that while US hearings have dominated international attention, the phenomenon isn't limited to American airspace. Countries like Brazil and the United Kingdom have reported their own significant UAP sightings, suggesting a truly global aspect to the mystery that might benefit from international cooperation. What makes the recent congressional approach to UAPs particularly significant is how it differs from historical government attitudes toward UFO reports. For decades, official policy was dismissal or debunking, epitomized by projects like the Air Force's Project Blue Book, which concluded in 1969 that no UFO report indicated a threat to national security or evidence of extraterrestrial vehicles. The current approach, by contrast, acknowledges that some UAP reports come from highly trained military observers with corroborating sensor data and cannot be easily explained away. This represents a seismic shift in official attitudes and validates the experiences of countless witnesses who were previously ridiculed for reporting unexplained aerial phenomena. In a way, these hearings represent a microcosm microcosm of the larger UFO debate, balancing skepticism with open-minded inquiry, national security concerns with public right to know, and conventional explanations with the possibility of truly extraordinary discoveries. They've created a space where the previously unthinkable congressional testimony about recovered alien bodies can occur alongside sober analysis of radar data and flight safety concerns. The hearings have also demonstrated that interest in UAPs transcends traditional political divides, with both Democrats and Republicans expressing frustration at perceived government stonewalling and calling for greater transparency. In an era of intense political polarization, the bipartisan approach to UAP investigations stands out as a rare example of cross-aisle cooperation. As we wrap up this exploration, I want to emphasize that skepticism about this doesn't require a blanket dismissal of all UFO reports or the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The universe is vast, with billions of galaxies containing trillions of stars and planets. The mathematical probability that Earth hosts the only intelligent life in the cosmos seems slim. As one person put it in a video about UFO sightings, it's statistically unrealistic to think it isn't out there. The question of whether extraterrestrial civilizations exist and whether they have visited Earth are separate issues, both worthy of serious scientific inquiry based on evidence rather than sensationalism. Thanks for joining me on this journey through one of the stranger corners of UFO lore. If you enjoyed this exploration, please consider checking out our other videos.